If you want to change your life, the very first place you start is not your bank account, not your job, not your circle of friends, not even your circumstances. The starting point is your mind, because everything you see in your life right now is a reflection of what first existed in your thoughts. Your mind is not just a part of your life. It is the steering wheel that drives every single thing you do. Every choice you've made, every risk you've taken, every mistake you regret, every victory you've celebrated, it all began with a single thought. And the truth that many people avoid facing is this: your life will always move in the direction of your strongest thoughts. If you think you are weak, you will act weak. If you think you are broken, you will walk through life carrying your brokenness as your identity. But if you think you are capable, if you think you are strong, if you think you have a future that is worth building, then suddenly your steps begin to align with those thoughts, and you carry yourself differently. You speak differently, you react differently, because your thoughts are shaping the life you live. But here is the hard truth: your mind is not naturally your friend. It does not automatically produce hope, courage, and clarity. Your mind is a battlefield. And on this battlefield lives fear, doubt, insecurity, shame, and hesitation. They are like soldiers waiting for the perfect moment to attack you. And unless you learn to fight, your mind will run your life in the wrong direction. Some of you already know exactly what I'm talking about because you wake up in the morning with thoughts of failure. Before you even get out of bed, your mind tells you the day is already too much for you. You walk into work, into school, into your relationships with this quiet background noise in your head saying, "You're not enough. You'll never measure up. You're going to fail again." And every time you try to silence it, it just gets louder. You fall asleep replaying mistakes, replaying regrets, rehearsing the pain until it becomes the story you live by. But I want to tell you something that may change the way you see this battle. Just because a thought comes into your mind doesn't mean it belongs there. You don't have to keep every thought that shows up. You cannot stop negative thoughts from knocking at your door, but you can decide not to let them sit down and have dinner with you. That is where the power lies, in the decision. Because the thoughts will come, fear will knock, doubt will whisper, insecurity will try to climb in. But you get to choose whether you build a home for them or you send them away. And the way you send them away is by replacing them with truth. When fear says, "You can't do it," you say, "I may not know how yet, but I can learn and I can grow." When doubt says, "You're not enough," you say, "I am in progress, I am developing, and my worth is not defined by perfection." When pain says, "You will always hurt," you say, "I may carry scars, but scars mean I survived, and survival means I'm stronger now than before." That is how you start to win the battle, by not letting the loudest voice in your mind be the voice of defeat. But I get it. Some of you might be saying, "That's easy to say, but it's not easy to do." And you're right. It's not easy. It's not instant. Controlling your mind is not about flipping a switch and suddenly everything is sunshine and positivity. It's about training. It's about discipline. It's about showing up every single day to challenge the lies that your mind throws at you and choosing to believe something different. Think about it like this. If you've been speaking one language for 20 years and suddenly you try to learn a new one, you're going to stumble. You're going to forget words. It's going to feel uncomfortable. But if you keep practicing day after day, that new language becomes your second nature. Your mind works the same way. If you've been speaking the language of negativity for years, don't expect positivity to roll off your tongue in a week. But if you practice, if you repeat, if you challenge and replace, then slowly the vocabulary of your mind changes, and with it, your life. The reason this matters so much is because your mind sets the ceiling of your potential. If your thoughts are small, your life will be small. If your thoughts are stuck in the past, your life will stay stuck in the past. If your thoughts are full of fear, you will walk in hesitation, always holding back, always wondering, what if? But when your thoughts expand, when you begin to believe that your future can be greater than your past, when you decide that you are capable of growth, then your actions align with that belief. And suddenly doors open that were always there, but you never had the courage to walk through. Let me make this real for you. Imagine two people wake up with the same problem. The first one thinks, "This is impossible. I can't handle it." That thought creates stress. That stress creates hesitation. That hesitation leads to no action and the problem grows bigger. The second person wakes up with the same problem but thinks, "This is hard, but I'll find a way." That thought creates determination. That determination fuels effort. That effort produces solutions and slowly the problem becomes manageable. Same situation, completely different outcome, all because of the thoughts that took root in their mind. So ask yourself right now, what kind of thoughts are you allowing to take root? Because make no mistake, your mind is a garden. If you plant seeds of doubt, you will grow weeds of fear. If you plant seeds of confidence, you will grow trees of resilience. If you plant nothing at all, the weeds will still come because negativity is the default. But if you intentionally plant the right seeds, water them with repetition, and protect them with discipline, your mind can become the most powerful tool you have to change your life. And I'll leave you with this. The greatest battle you will ever fight will not be against your past, not against other people, not even against your circumstances. The greatest battle is the one happening inside your own head. And the one who wins that battle will shape the person you become. If you want to change your life, you must first take control of your mind. You must recognize the lies, challenge the noise, replace the thoughts that drag you down with the ones that pull you up. You must train, practice, repeat until the language of strength, of courage, of hope becomes second nature. Because the person who masters their thoughts masters their life. And that person, that future version of you, is waiting for you to start right now. Every single person listening to me right now has an inner voice. You might not talk about it. You might not even acknowledge it most of the time, but it's there. It's the running commentary in your head, the coach that speaks before you make a move, the whisper that shows up when nobody else is around. And the truth is that inner voice is the loudest influence in your entire life. It is louder than your parents, louder than your friends, louder than your teachers, louder than strangers on the internet, because it speaks to you constantly, all day, every day, in moments of success, in moments of failure, in moments when you're alone, and in moments when you're surrounded by people. That voice shapes your decisions, your reactions, your emotions, and eventually your destiny. And here's the shocking part. Most people have no idea what their inner voice is saying to them, and even worse, they never stop to question if it's telling the truth. Think about this. If you went out and hired a coach to train you, but every time you showed up, they told you, "You're too slow. You're not built for this. You'll never get better. Everyone else is ahead of you. Why even try?" How long would you keep paying that coach? Not long. You would fire them instantly because nobody in their right mind would keep someone around who constantly tears them down. And yet, that's exactly what most people do with their inner voice. They let it run wild, untrained, unchecked, repeating the same destructive story until it becomes a belief, and that belief becomes the foundation of their entire life. But here's the truth you need to understand: your inner voice is not set in stone. It is programmable. It is trainable. It can be rewritten. The problem is, it has already been programmed by your past, by your mistakes, by what people have said to you, by what you've experienced, by the failures you've lived through. Over time, those experiences create a script, and now your inner voice is just reading it out loud to you every single day. And that's why you keep hearing the same words: "I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm always going to fail. Nothing ever changes for me." But just because that script is familiar doesn't mean it's true. And if you want to change your life, if you want to take control of your mind, you must be willing to reprogram that script. Now, reprogramming doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen just because you want it to. It happens through intentional repetition. You cannot just hear something once and expect it to erase years of negativity. You have to practice it over and over again until your brain begins to believe it. And yes, at first, it will feel fake. It will feel awkward. It will feel like you're lying to yourself. But understand this: you are not lying. You are retraining. It's no different than a muscle. If you've been weak in one area for years, the first time you try to work it out, it's going to hurt. It's going to feel unnatural. But with consistency, that weakness becomes strength. Your inner voice works the same way. You've been exercising the muscle of negativity for so long that it feels natural. Positivity feels foreign, but the more you train it, the stronger it becomes. Let me give you an example. When your inner voice says, "I can't," you replace it with, "I can learn, I can try, I can grow." When it says, I'm not enough, you replace it with, I am becoming more every single day. When it says, this is impossible, you replace it with, I will find a way or I will create one. That replacement is not denial, it's direction. It's you taking authority over the script that plays in your head, because if you let the wrong story run, your life will reflect it. But if you begin to write a new story, slowly your life begins to shift in that direction. Now, I want you to notice something powerful. Your inner voice doesn't just react to your circumstances, it creates them. If your inner voice tells you that you are weak, you will approach challenges with hesitation. That hesitation becomes lack of action. That lack of action produces failure. And now your inner voice says, see, I told you. But if your inner voice tells you that you are strong, you approach challenges with confidence. That confidence produces action. That action produces growth. And now your inner voice says, see, you're capable. Do you see the cycle? Your inner voice creates the reality it speaks. And the only way to break out of a negative cycle is to interrupt it with new words, new beliefs, new declarations. I know some of you are listening right now thinking, but what if I don't believe it? What if I don't feel it? And I want you to hear me clearly. You don't have to feel it in order to practice it. You don't have to fully believe it on day one to start repeating it. Faith grows by hearing, and hearing comes by repetition. You speak it until you start to believe it. You repeat it until it becomes natural. You rehearse it until your inner voice switches sides and begins to work for you instead of against you. Some of you have spent your entire life rehearsing your failures. You replay them, you relive them, you recite them until they've become your entire identity. But your past is not your destiny. You don't have to rehearse what went wrong. You can rehearse what can go right. You can rehearse your future. You can rehearse possibilities. You can rehearse victory. And the more you do, the more your mind begins to expect it, and the more your life begins to align with it. Think about how athletes train. They don't just train their bodies, they train their minds. They visualize winning before they step on the field. They repeat affirmations before they run onto the court. They prepare their inner voice to push them beyond their limits. And that's why when their bodies want to quit, their mind says, keep going. That's what you need to build for your own life. A mind that is programmed to keep pushing, to keep moving, to keep rising, even when everything else wants to quit. Your inner voice will either become the prison that traps you or the fuel that frees you. And the difference lies in your decision to reprogram it. Stop letting it echo the words of your past. Stop letting it parrot the voices of people who didn't believe in you. Stop letting it recycle the lies that have kept you stuck. Start writing a new script. Start speaking a new language. Start rehearsing a new story. Because the story you tell yourself every day will either hold you back or propel you forward. And the moment you take control of that story, the moment you choose to rewrite that script, is the moment your life begins to change. And let me say this one last thing. This is not a one-time fix. This is not something you do for a week and then walk away. This is daily work. This is a lifelong practice. But here's the good news. Every single time you replace a negative word with a positive one, every single time you interrupt the old script with a new line, every single time you challenge the lie and speak the truth instead, you are taking back ground in the battlefield of your mind. And one day, you'll wake up and realize that the voice that used to tear you down has become the voice that builds you up. That the coach in your head is finally working for you instead of against you. And when that happens, you will know without a doubt that you have taken control of your mind. And by doing so, you have taken control of your life. If you want to control your mind, you have to understand something most people never admit to themselves. You cannot fill your mind with junk and expect clarity. You cannot live surrounded by noise and expect peace. You cannot spend every day feeding your thoughts with distraction and then wonder why your mind feels weak. The truth is simple, but hard to swallow. Your mind becomes what you feed it. And the reason so many people feel stuck, the reason so many people live in confusion, the reason so many people can't seem to break free from the same cycle over and over again is because they are feeding their mind the wrong diet. Think about your body for a moment. If you eat fast food every day, if you drink nothing but soda, if you avoid exercise, what happens? You get weak. You get sluggish. You feel tired all the time. You don't have energy. That's the natural result of feeding your body garbage. Now translate that to your mind. If you wake up and the first thing you consume is fear from the news, gossip from social media, negativity from people around you, what do you think happens to your mental state? You feel anxious. You feel insecure. You feel hopeless. That's not an accident. That's a direct result of your mental diet. So here's the principle you have to live by if you want control over your mind. Discipline beats distraction. And I don't just mean discipline as in strict routines or a rigid schedule. I mean the discipline to say no to what doesn't serve you and yes to what builds you. Because the truth is, distraction is not neutral. Every time you give in to distraction, it's pulling you away from your purpose. Every time you get lost in endless scrolling, it's stealing time you'll never get back. Every time you let negative people rent space in your head, it's weakening your confidence. And unless you step in with discipline, your mind will remain at the mercy of whatever is loudest around you. But discipline is not punishment. Discipline is freedom. Discipline says, I don't have to let my phone control me. I don't have to let the opinions of strangers define me. I don't have to consume everything put in front of me. I get to choose. And in that choice is your power. That's how you begin to take control. You stop living on autopilot and you start making intentional decisions about what you let into your head. Let me make this real. If you want to build a strong mind, you cannot spend every evening binging shows that make you feel empty. If you want to build confidence, you cannot keep following accounts online that constantly make you compare yourself. If you want to build resilience, you cannot surround yourself with friends who only complain and never grow. That doesn't mean you live in a bubble or pretend the world is perfect. It means you stop giving more time and energy to things that drain you than to things that fill you. It means you set boundaries, not because you're weak, but because you're focused. And here's what happens when you start to practice discipline over distraction. Your mind sharpens. Suddenly, you're able to focus on what actually matters. You start noticing opportunities you used to miss. You feel lighter because you're not carrying around all the mental junk that weighed you down. You begin to think more clearly, to act more decisively, to move more confidently, because your mind is no longer being hijacked by every distraction that comes along. Now, don't get me wrong, distraction will always be there. The world is designed to keep your attention, to keep you entertained, to keep you addicted. Your phone is not neutral. The apps you use are designed to pull you back in. The people around you will often prefer that you stay the same rather than grow because your growth challenges their comfort. That's why discipline has to be a daily practice. It's not about eliminating every distraction forever. It's about recognizing them, catching yourself, and redirecting your focus. Every time you choose discipline, you strengthen your control. And every time you strengthen your control, your mind learns that you are the one in charge. Some of you listening to me right now are living in mental chaos because your mind has never been trained to obey. You've let it wander wherever it wants, whenever it wants, for years. But just like a child, your mind needs guidance. If you don't teach it where to go, it will run into places it doesn't belong. It will replay regrets. It will dwell on fears. It will focus on every insecurity. And then you wonder why you feel stuck. But when you step in as the leader of your own mind, when you say, no, we're not going there today. No, we're not giving energy to that thought. No, we're not wasting time on that distraction. Suddenly your mind begins to shift. It begins to respect the authority you bring. It begins to follow your lead. And this is what separates people who live with clarity from people who live in confusion. The ones with clarity are not smarter. They are not luckier. They are simply more disciplined. They have trained their mind to focus, to filter, to reject what doesn't serve them, and to accept only what builds them. And that discipline gives them freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from anxiety. Freedom from insecurity. Because they are no longer being tossed around by every thought that shows up or every distraction that tries to grab their attention. So let me ask you this: what distractions are you feeding your mind right now? What voices are you giving space to? What habits are shaping your thoughts? Because whether you realize it or not, those choices are building the life you live. If you want a life of strength, you must feed your mind strength. If you want a life of clarity, you must feed your mind clarity. If you want a life of courage, you must feed your mind courage. It's that simple. And here's the beauty of it. Every small decision counts. Every time you choose to read something uplifting instead of scrolling aimlessly, you're feeding your mind. Every time you choose to listen to a podcast that teaches you instead of gossip that distracts you, you're feeding your mind. Every time you choose to spend time with people who challenge you to grow instead of people who hold you back, you're feeding your mind. These decisions might feel small in the moment, but over time they add up to transformation. Because your life is just the sum of what you repeatedly feed your mind. So if you're tired of living stuck, if you're tired of feeling anxious, if you're tired of being a prisoner of your own thoughts, then it's time to get disciplined. It's time to cut off the noise. It's time to stop giving more energy to distraction than to growth. It's time to train your mind like it's the most valuable muscle you'll ever use. Because it is. And the more you discipline it, the stronger it becomes. And when you reach that point, when your mind is no longer controlled by distraction but by discipline, you will experience a level of freedom most people never taste. You will think clearly. You will act confidently. You will live intentionally. And you will know without a doubt that by controlling your mind, you have changed your life. Because the one who controls their mind controls their future. And that future is waiting for you to step into it, not tomorrow, not someday, but today.